All right, let's talk about Study Sync. I got to move on out of my student page. Any questions about that student page? Again, their vocabulary words are there. Those games are automatically being populated there. All right, let's talk about Study Sync. So from 3rd grade on, you have blasts that are awesome. Anybody have seen the blasts? Raise your hand for reals if you've seen the blasts. Okay. So you can find the blasts underneath the resources, resource library, and then almost all the way down at the bottom, you will see a choice called Study Sync. And Study Sync will give me a few things. Study Sync will give me some collaborative conversation videos that are student-facing. I want to play those for my kiddos and say, look, what are they doing right when they have a collaborative conversation? What does it look like? What does it sound like? Because we all know those are two very different things. I have the literature preview videos, so if you want to do a little bit of a launch on a read aloud that you're doing, then you have the ability to do that. But you also have 12 different blasts. So you have 2 blasts per unit. And the blasts really help tie what you're doing with what they're used to. So I can also pull the details of that particular blast and look at what I'm teaching within those blasts. The blasts are really something that you will need to assign. I want to show you what this blast looks like. So this blast would be about when I'm doing the animal adaptations. And here's one of the animal adaptations as I'm looking at this. So here's my question. How do adaptations help animals survive? Well, I'm going to read this information, and then I need to create my blast with 140 characters. And for my social media people, what is 140 characters normally attached to?
Well, it used to be Twitter, but yeah.
A tweet.
Give or take.
Right? So I have 140 characters, which means that I need to say more in saying less. So I have to choose my words a little bit carefully to what I'm doing, and then I would, as a student, I submit this. Well, the rest of your students will be receiving those blast 140 character blast answers that they will rate. And they'll rate it based on some criteria of what makes something higher or lower. You as a teacher can see what they're doing. So if you have a student that's only rating 1 for every single student, that would be a conversation that you would get to have. Okay, but the nice thing about those blasts is that they're anonymous. I don't know who wrote the blast, and I don't know, and they don't know who's rating their blast. Okay. And it will begin to rate those blasts. So the top answer you'll be able to show on the top, and you'll find that it's your kids that don't do a lot of sharing that feel safe being able to write those 140 characters within that blast.
And they're just writing a summary?
Whatever the question is asking. So the question for this one is, how do adaptations help animals survive? So I have to answer that question in 140 characters. So they're very specific on what they're asking the student to do. Let me open another one.
How do you know which lesson to match with?
So there are 2. So when you see any of those, it will be at the beginning of the week. So when you open up that weekly resources, then you'll see that attached to that particular part. Let me show you where it will be. So here's another one. What important qualities do friends have? 140 characters. I'm going to do my reading. There's also a survey that kids can take, and there's also a number that's associated to whatever that question is. So what would 150 be about friends? Well, it's the average number of friends a person has. Okay, so those numbers will help tie that as well. And then there are some research links, safe research links, that students can go to as well. So those I've seen those work in a classroom, and talk about engaged kids and trying to make sure that those 140 characters count, because I don't want to be the last. I don't want to be the one that didn't do very well, because after a while they kind of figure out who's the one that's not trying.
Janae, do you also have access to the like doing novel studies, the preview videos or the study sync videos for those?
Yeah, so let me just bump back. So those are also in the study sync categories, and they are underneath that literature preview videos.
Okay, so a lot of you will have a trade book library, classroom library with, and we've got a list of the titles, and I can send those to Darcy and disseminate them across the district. Novel studies. So certainly, especially at the upper grades. What's really cool about this, so two different things. One thing you're going to have is you're going to have this preview video if you're going to do a classroom-wide, hey, we're going to do, this is the novel that we're going to cover for this 9 weeks or this semester. And there's some really, really cool preview video kind of to build some interest in what they're about to read. Then there's also some lessons that will go along with that novel study as well. So you're nodding like you already know what I'm talking about. Okay, good. Janae? Huh? Oh, you're answering questions. Okay.
I'm a little sidetracked.
So for instance, Miracles on Maple Hill. Let's do that one.
I don't know. You know what? Send me an email with that.
A cozy farmhouse on Maple Hill. A door closes. A man's voice yells, "Who slammed that door?" Ever since he returned home from World War II, Marley's father has seemed different, scared. Here in the snowy mountains, Marley and her family hope to make things right. The year will be an adventure, full of challenges and miracles. Can Marley's father heal, just as maple sap turns into syrup and spring blossoms bloom? Will things get better? Find out. Read Miracles on Maple Hill by Virginia Sorensen.
So does anybody utilize those or seen their teachers utilize that at all? So just one of those little components that really sparks interest when you're doing novel studies. And then you find the lessons. Yes.
Okay, so you have lessons that also go with those novel studies that are written like the close reading companion. So don't go spend money on that one website that we don't talk about, because you already have them. So you'll go into that resource library, we spend a lot of time there, and scroll down into lessons. And underneath lessons, you'll have classroom library lessons. And within those classroom library lessons, you'll have a lesson plan as far as that, where's my close reading, what's my close reading routine, how am I accessing that complex text, and you will also have some of those reread opportunities like that close reading companion.
Can you click on one of those?
That have already been done for you. Yeah, let me go to, okay, let me go right here into Because of Winn-Dixie. So they're all PDFs, which means I can print them, I can save them onto my desktop. So here's my author's purpose right here, right? I'm talking about specific spots. So when I reread, I'm not rereading the entire story. I'm looking at a movie clip. I already watched the movie when I read it the first time. Now I'm going to go back and read things for a specific purpose. So it will tell you exactly the page to go back to, and it will tell you what you'll be doing to cite that specific evidence. So what am I looking for? And what do I need to do to be able to do that?
And the other resource is
And
the
it's and it is multiple pages. So make sure that you look to see all the different pages that will be affected with that PDF.
Show us again how.
Yeah, I'll walk back through it again. Okay, so I'm going to go into resources, resource library. And I'm going to go down into lessons. It's about midway down. And then into classroom library lessons.
Jay, could you pull up one of the
remember,
lesson
too,
cards?
Remember too that what that star means. Who remembers what that star means? Favorites. So if I fill in this star right there, then I can find it up here later underneath my favorites. So you don't have to go to do that click track every single time.
Can you click on that so we can show that resource?
My favorites?
No, that resource itself that you just
Oh, you
the
want to see
actual
this
lesson
one?
card. The lesson.
Oh my God. What are you talking about?
I just want them to do lesson. I just want them to see what the lesson looks like.
So this is for Accidental Hero. So there's my close reading routine. There's my access to complex text. So how am I utilizing a read aloud book or a chapter book to be able to teach with that particular piece? Okay, so.
Obviously, these are not mandatory, but we just want to make sure that you
Right.
know how to get to them. And so you can show your teachers how to get to them. The teachers that are in the room obviously can go find them. So that way, because we get lots of questions, hey, we want to do novel studies, and we'll certainly send you the list of all of the trade books that we have. The videos, there's one video for each of the trade book, as well as the lesson cards and the Black Line Masters for the students as well. Okay, just something that's a great way to break up. Obviously, we love to do novel studies, so it's a great thing to do on Fridays. A lot of folks like to do that.
Well, and also in that particular novel study, it's actually called Classroom Library. You have smaller nonfiction reads. That would be something that you could use as an additional resource to what you're doing for that particular science or social studies week.
A couple of things that, to go back to Jay, just one second, when she talked about clicking on the star and make it a favorite, okay? I kind of like to, I'm a planner, so I like to look into the future. So for your teachers for next year, if they've set their calendar up, if they've done all the favorites, if they've customized presentations, all those things that they've done, when they go to create their new class for next year, they can select the previous year's class to duplicate it automatically. So you don't have to go back in and change the presentations again. You don't have to change your calendar again. You don't have to start the favorites again. Everything just pulls right up to there. So that's why I like to think about. So don't be afraid that you're going to lose something. We can keep it for next year. It makes it a lot easier at the beginning of next year for your teachers. Yes?
I was going to ask about the short reads you mentioned and the novel studies. Did you say those start at 3rd grade, or are there any available?
No, so those
There's
start at kindergarten.
kindergarten,
Yeah, it's those blasts, those
The
study
blasts, the
seat
tweets.
blasts that
Think-
start at 3rd
Yeah.
grade.
So think
Right.
tweets don't start till 3rd grade, in essence.
So so you'll be able to see your blasts. I think they are in your weekly planner. Do you know, Steve,
I'm sorry, what did you say? I'm sorry.
where those blasts are located on the weekly planner? Because it would be nice if they were like, they're consistent with week 1.
I don't think they
and
are
week
on the planner.
3.
I don't think they're on the planner.
Well, I know that they are on your slides for the week. They'll be in your presentation, and you'll see them as a blast. I just need to remember where they are. I thought they were at the beginning too. But this is the weekly opener. Do you see it? Oh, right here. Da, da, da. Okay, so it's right here underneath that build the background.
Okay, it's always on first day.
I don't, yeah, it will always be on day one, but I don't know that there's a specific week that they're always attached to. So it's not like they're always on week 1 and week 4, because this is actually
they're automatically-
on
they're automatically
week
assigned.
2. But yeah, they are there inside there. Let me, just for curiosity.
Last in third grade that I thought went with like June 4, week 3. So I'm gonna check that.
So here's my, yeah, it is. So it will be right there under introduce the concept.
So you have to assign it to the student?
Yeah.
But you still have to assign it even though it's a
Correct.
presentation.
Correct. It's considered kind of one of those supplemental resources.
Yep.
Good question.